All right, everyone, what's going on? Welcome to episode 4 of the podcast. I know it's been probably close to a week now since I've come out with an episode, but quite frankly, with this quarantine going on, there hasn't been much to report. The last episode I was going to do, which was going to be a Wednesday, for, how my locals, because that's what this podcast is generally about, how well I'm doing at my locals and just some general know-how and my thoughts on Dragon Ball Super as a card game. Well, that just didn't pan out just because of this, COVID-19 virus spreading amongst us here in the U.S. And pretty much all sanctioned tournaments have been, canceled. Anything related, my local game store, the one I go to, and pretty much has stopped all tournaments. I don't even know if they're open right now, to be honest. I don't think they have been since this outbreak has come out. And, I do Wednesdays and Sundays and, no events. So even the deck that I've been putting together, which is Android 13, just to play at locals and test and give some feedback, because it is a budget version of it, and kind of give my take on how well a budget deck can do, on a local level. And because some people there do have competitive decks there that they could take to bigger events and do well with. Kind of see how that works with that. But no events, which means no testing, really. But as you can see, if you're watching this on YouTube, that I have moved. I did move, so the layout looks a little bit different. That's really kind of the new thing. It's happened within the last couple weeks. I did move. I moved in with some friends that I've mentioned on the podcast before. And, that's one thing I've been going through. And then because I work at a grocery store, pretty much this, as far as work-wise for me, has not affected me whatsoever, because I've had to be at work because my job's essential, which has been a nightmare in itself, just having to deal with people and their craziness. People have been going nuts and kind of blowing this thing more out of proportion than it needs to be, in my opinion. Just buying out the store left and right, which honestly I don't care about. If they want to come in and panic and buy a bunch of stuff, that's fine. That's more money in my pocket at the end of the day when we get our quarterly bonuses. But just the sheer fact of how pretty much rude, the rudeness of people has just been 110% above average. Just can't believe, we don't have certain stuff in stock, but you can't really and don't understand why. Well, it's if you wouldn't come in here every day, buy something every single day, and you wonder why we don't have enough in stock, because we literally can't meet the demand. And that's pretty much everywhere. In grocery stores, in my opinion, probably they haven't been able to meet the demand. So if we can't meet the demand, because you guys have blown this, whole thing just, out of proportion, in my opinion. Yeah, we should be scared, and I agree. You should be, practicing, self-quarantining and, keeping your self-distance, as much as possible until they kind of get this under control. But at the end of the day, do you need to stock up on everything? No, I don't think so. You probably don't need to be doing any other shopping other than what you would regularly do, because it's not like they've stopped people from going to the shop. They just stopped you from pretty much gathering in big groups, which is understandable. But at the same time, if you go to the grocery store, you're kind of putting yourself in a position to get it. So hopefully people who have been going there haven't had it, but you don't really know it until you see the symptoms and go to the doctor. It's just the nature of the beast. I know probably within the time that this has happened, I got into kind of a heated debate with someone in the Dragon Ball community on a Facebook post. And it was about small businesses, and the person's opinion was they should close down, because I think the topic was, what's people's opinions about, you know, pretty much your local game stores closing down, or limiting kind of sanctioned play and stuff. I just simply stated that it should be at the business's discretion, unless otherwise stated by like your state officials, whether you can stay open or not. And I think at the time that wasn't kind of the big thing that a lot of small businesses were having, where they were being pretty much forced to close because it was on the early stages. But I think it should be at the business's discretion, because at the end of the day, they got to make money too. And I know probably like a lot of local game stores that they rely on their regular customers, the ones that are there, almost at least on a weekly basis. Some there probably on a daily basis. They rely on that revenue to stay open, and it wouldn't be very surprising to me to see some local game stores get shut down because of this, because they just aren't able to make any money. And that's kind of the reality that this COVID-19 can bring to a business, is that it can shut you down. So, but it was kind of a little heated debate between me and one other person who I won't name, because I'm not going to name drop like that. But it was a heated debate, and I probably got a little bit more heated than I needed to, but at the same time, it's kind of a soft spot for me, because I like supporting local game stores, and I think anyone who plays a card game, whether it's Dragon Ball Super, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, etc., should be supporting them, because they're not just providing the product to you, they're providing a place for you to go and enjoy the game as well. And so, you need to show them as much love as possible, in my opinion. And really what sparked this was that people, kind of shunning these businesses that elected to stay open if they were able to stay open. And, it's at that point in time, it was at their discretion. If they choose to, don't shun them for it, because they, have to. Some of them might have saw it deemed necessary for them to stay open and hopefully get some customers within that time frame, so they won't have to close their doors permanently. So, and that's really that's really why I chimed in on it, because of the fact that I felt like it should be at their discretion. That's really like the only argument I've had over this whole thing. I've kind of tried to steer clear of it, other than, people just going crazy at grocery stores, and that's because of the sheer fact I work for one, so I probably have a biased opinion on that. But more on the Dragon Ball news is that I've seen the community kind of rally together, showing, like, you've seen a lot of the bigger YouTubers of the game showing like tutorials on how to play the game online via Octagon and Untapped. I think Octagon's been where people have been kind of migrating to more, because I think I've never used Untapped, but I have used Octagon, and Octagon seems a little bit better in my opinion, and it might be a bit more user friendly. I don't know. I don't use it regularly. I haven't used it in I haven't used it in months. I don't even think I have it on this machine anymore, just because I just didn't see it necessarily to have on there, because I wasn't utilizing it. But I've seen the community kind of rallying together to kind of give people who really want to play but can't go somewhere to play because, of this outbreak, that, facilitating tournaments and whatnot, And that's really great that the community has been trying to, bring us together as a community for this game in this time of crisis, as some have been putting it. And I've also seen a lot of, the pull games going on, which is kind of, I mean, in my opinion, and it is leaning more towards draft box 5 cards. And because of the fact, since this crisis, the people able to have access to these cards and even do, a draft for them is, pretty much been non-existent. And I'm glad Bandai has come around and saying they're going to be doing a second run of the draft box 5 because of this COVID-19 thing. So that's really good on them. I'm glad they decided to do that. But, people trying to sell these draft box 5 cards at like really a high price on the secondary market just because of what's going on right now seems kind of scummy in my opinion. But here's the thing though, the people that are buying them are the ones causing the problem because people are buying them at that prices. And why y'all buying them at them prices when you don't even have a tournament to go play them in? And so, if you really don't want to buy them at that price, but you're buying them at that price, you're just feeding into the problem and why the prices are so high. So if you don't want, you need the answer with your wallet and basically say, I'm not going to buy into this. Because why are you going to buy cards you're not going to be playing for probably at least another month? Let's be honest here. Probably another month of, like, no gameplay unless, something comes out within the next couple days to a week and says, we can all go back to living normally. But, you kind of, people are buying them at their prices. You're shooting yourself in the foot and the community in the foot as well because you're buying them at those prices. But why are you buying them when you're not, they're just going to sit in a deck for another month or so and not be utilized? Like, there's no meta right now with them. Like, people have been theory crafting and play testing on the the online platforms, but I mean, online meta, is generally different from an actual card game meta. And right now, we really don't have a meta because we haven't had any big events to happen since Draft Box 5 has come out. So that's kind of where I stand on, people selling these draft box cards for the prices that they are and, making that secondary market just like inflated, in my opinion. And not to say that the cards aren't good, because I did a whole episode, revolving around the draft box cards and giving my takes on them and what the money cards will be. And, most of what I've said, and it's not just me, it's been every other content creator for this game has said, what the money cards would be, and we've all been pretty much right on, that, in my opinion. But again, that really isn't defined until these cards get used in a big tournament, and that's my opinion, and I think that's the opinion of most people. And since we haven't had any tournaments, like, we really can't say. So, I mean, if people don't want them to be as high as they are right now, you need to be, answering with your wallets and not buying them. So, anyone in the community who has a problem with them being that high, but you've been buying them, you're just, you're the problem. So, that's all I have to say about that. And that's just how it is. And I'm hoping we get some relief on this. That way we can start having sanctioned tournaments again, so we can, all of us, not really me per se, but like some of the bigger content creators have like content to bring you. Like there's there's only so much content we can bring to you as it is right now, and that can get stale over time when there's you know I mean, I guess the content comes down to how creative you are, but we can't really be that creative if we can't actually like play the game, in my opinion. So uh but I do like how people how the the poll streams on like the poll game streams on Facebook have been going about. It's a really creative way to try to sell your cards, in my opinion. It's creative, but in a way it feels like really loot box ish. Like you're buying, like I've seen people put like $20 for 5 pulls. It's pretty much like a loot box. And if you're looking at it from a video game standpoint, and the mass opinion of people with loot boxes is that they're kind of frowned upon. Not to say that I can't knock you for being creative, and and it's great, and you guys want to do that, do what you do. I can't knock you for that. At the end of the day, a lot of people are doing this, kind of as their job, so to speak, because it's for maybe a store, or they run an online store, and this is one way to help kind of fund you in this time of crisis, with not being able to actually sell out of your store and whatnot. But to me, it just seems real loot box-ish, and that's because I see it that way. I can't buy into it really, because of that, because it's the chances of you, because I saw, like, because my buddy Trey did one for Grand Line Gaming. Shout outs to them, Jonesboro Arc, so Grand Line Gaming. They just the one, like, I watched a bit of a stream they had, and one of their, like, guy paid 20 for 5 pulls, and this isn't knocking my boys up there or anything. It just didn't feel like the guy got his money's worth, and I guess that's kind of that's like the gamble you put in, I suppose. But for me to spend like $20 on 5 pulls, I guess I hope to get my money's worth. And you could say like, well, if you buy packs, it's kind of the same thing, but if you buy one pack, I feel like, because such a price difference, like one pack's like $4, right? And if you don't pull anything worth like above $1, it's all like, well, okay, I spent $4. But you do have a chance of pulling higher than that, and it's $4. Well, $20, like, I mean, I'm not rich, so like $20 to me, that's in essence kind of not like a whole lot of money, but $20 could fill up my gas tank. Could buy me, some groceries, stuff like that. So I look at it from that aspect, and that $20, if I don't pull like, I guess maybe half my money's worth, or a fraction, like, it just doesn't seem worth it to me. And I don't want to say these people are kind of like, taking advantage of people with that, depending on what's in their polls. But, to me, it's kind of scummy in a way. But I know some people have been putting the money's worth of cards in there. So that, again, that's just me watching like one pull from my boys up there at Grand Line Gaming. So it's not knocking them by any means, because again, I didn't watch like a whole thing, so I don't know what was all in the stack of cards. So I can't really judge. I shouldn't really judge it based upon that. I probably should have watched more on it, but I'm just giving my take on it, and it's not knocking them, by any means. there might have been more to it than I knew about because I tuned in like midway through. So it's not knocking them. It's a great creative way of trying to sell product to people, and that I like seeing creativity within the community. Just that the only thing I have a problem with is that it just feels like a loot box-ish, and I don't like loot boxes, and that's kind of like a big common consensus of people and how they feel about loot boxes. That's just my take on it. But needless to say, the creativity is there, and I love seeing that. And man, there really just hasn't been that much news. I mean, I'm glad to see a lot of the bigger content creators still pushing out content and all that. And I've already, kind of, said something about that, but I mean, just I can't praise it. You can't praise them enough, in my opinion, because they've been able to, been able to find content in a time when there's not much content to be made. And I wouldn't say this is big content. This is just a podcast, and it's just me here rambling and ranting about Dragon Ball. And I don't get very many views, I don't get very many listens, but I do this because I enjoy just doing it. And I wish I would have, like, from the origins of this whole Porunga's Palace and the podcast, is probably how I should have been doing it from the start. Just me, my take on it. And, I get enjoyment out of this. I wish I wouldn't have had, like, a big delay from like this episode to the last episode, but that really couldn't be helped in a lot of ways because I was moving, and then we had the outbreak, and then like the content I want to bring to it, which highly involves me going to a locals, well, I just can't, right now. But hopefully within the next month that will change, and I'll be able to bring you some updates as far as like, the decks I use and how well I did. And hopefully that's why people are coming, is because they want to hear from, an average Joe player and how they're doing at their locals. I don't feel like there's enough of that for this game, and that's why I'm trying to bring it to you. But I think we're just going to wrap it up there because, again, there hasn't been much content, at least on my end of the spectrum, because I can't do locals. So, we're just going to wrap it up here, folks. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and, it would be great if you give this video a thumbs up, and if you like what you see here, subscribe to the YouTube channel, as well as add us on your favorites if you're listening to this via audio on either Stitcher or I believe Spotify. We got it on now. But again, I hope you guys have a good rest of your week, and hopefully you guys aren't getting too much cabin fever from having to stay quarantined. But until the next episode, y'all, be sure you check out the social medias to know when the next episode will be. And we will see you in the next episode. You guys take care.